What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And like many people out there, once they have pulled all of the 5 elders, the first thing that everyone is doing is running into Rumble and seeing how this team performs. So we're finally getting a chance to do that today. We're doing a mix of doing some of the runs in this video are going to be against the challenge difficulty bosses. Some of them will be against regular teams you'll see in Rumble, so I did a little bit of a mix this time. So yeah, this is an interesting one because the thing that everyone kind of had, the question was, is, you know, all these characters are 55 cost in Rumble. Yes, you can put them all on the team. The issue is look at the total team cost that we have in the bottom right hand corner. 295 out of 300. If you take out the alpha that I have on the bench, you know, you don't really have a lot going for you. So with this team build in mind, you are only allowing yourself one Rumble character on your team, and then you could technically fill out the bench with like low cost characters. The issue with that is that sometimes you'll find yourself in a situation where if you have those characters on your team, when those characters come in off the bench, they will take the attack order of some other characters and can really screw up the way that things perform. So I actually have opted to not do that, but honestly, I'll give you guys my raw breakdown. I have tested this team against like high meta teams. I have also tested this against generic teams like mid-level squads, and I've tested it against the challenge difficulty bosses. The way that I kind of feel it is that this team is just okay. I assume if you guys just wanted to know like my opinions on it, I think that honestly this team is like just fine. I think that it's nowhere near as like the best team ever. There are plenty of teams out there that can beat this. If you are going against heavy debuff focused teams, you are going to lose with this team. I'm just telling you straight up. This team is not the best team in Rumble, but it does beat most generic teams. It will beat a lot of teams in the game, but if you're trying to use this against high meta, you're going to get absolutely crushed, okay? The best thing about this team, though, is they do work so well together. They have great synergies, and the obvious thing that goes really well here is Nusjuro is one of the best damage dealers in Rumble. If you get him to launch, and then you have Marcus Mars, if he dies, and then he can make Nusjuro go to the top of the order with full charge again, getting him to like go back to back is crazy. The debuffs from Peter are very, very good. Walkuri basically never dies. Saturn, I think, is honestly the weakest link in this team. I really do like Walkuri for his insane defenses, but the honest major drawback that I have had whilst using this team so far is the fact that it takes so long to launch a special with this squad. So I have been considering using this combo because Alpha does have the capabilities of charging the specials of our world government characters, so this can actually work quite well. The only issue is that her Rumble ability isn't that great, that it doesn't really work with the rest of the team, but you know, overall, we tried a little bit of a combo of both. I'm not 100% certain on it. One thing that I do know, though, is that a lot of people that have been lucky enough to pull the Rumble Legend S-Snake that came out recently, they've been doing that. So instead of Alpha, they use the S-Snake, and then they run a combo of either this or they put you know, Saturn on the bench, something like that. I know that S-Snake has been insanely popular because of the synergy with Driven, and that has actually been working quite well for a lot of people, because this team, while it does have great specials, it does take a while for them to launch, but once you do get your specials launching on a cycle, you can kind of start snowballing and steamrolling the rest of the fight. But like the first 20 to 30 seconds where you're kind of just waiting for specials to launch and you are hit with intense debuffs from the opponents, that's where things can get really, really bad for you. But if you get a chance to launch some specials, you're going to be in for a really, really good time. So anyways, that's going to be my little bit of a breakdown here, like just my full word about this team so far. So let's go ahead now and jump into the content, utilizing this squad against a couple of different teams. So jumping into this first fight here is, of course, we want to go ahead and just challenge the most recent challenge difficulty boss, being S-Snake. To be honest, this one is like not a ultra difficult fight, mainly just because, despite the fact that they have Pika and S-Snake, which are two of those key characters that I mentioned in the introduction of this video, like if you're coming against a relatively meta team, they've got S-Snake, Pika, those types of units, alongside those big damage dealers, that's where things can become a little bit of an issue. However, with a squad such as this, where the damage dealers are not the ultra high hard core characters you got to worry about, it's not really that crazy. This was also one of those instances where I was trialing out Alpha on the front line rather than using Saturn, and this is also one of those times where I did opt to use those 2 low-cost characters just to fill out the rest of the team, but I did end up changing that eventually anyways. So you can see that initially, like, things are going relatively well. We're launching specials. You love to see that, of course. You see Nami and Sanji coming through. These characters actually can do pretty good damage there. You see, knocked out Nushjuro, and it knocked out the Alpha almost immediately. Just boom, dead, done. That's it. It was crazy. I couldn't believe that Nami and Sanji was outputting that amount of damage. So we are just kind of now relying on our other characters to be our heavy damage dealers. So once Nushjuro goes down, it does make Mars a little, like, interesting, right? Because Mars will, when he launches his special, when he dies, will only allow you to, like, receive cooldown and, like, haste an attack style unit. So because the rest of the elders are not attack style units, you're put in a little bit of a weird scenario where it'll just basically give you some buffs and some fixed damage, which can be a little bit problematic. But one thing is for certain is that, you know, out of all the testing that I've done, the final character to die on all of my teams always ends up being Valkyrie. Valkyrie lasts forever. He can revive twice. He has a lot of defensive components, which makes him really, really nice. And another thing about him too is that he actually does do some solid damage, all things considered. So don't sleep on Valkyrie. I think he's a really solid asset to the 5 Elder team, especially, you know, the fact that when you launch his special, he does all the buffs and the really good damage, but you can charge his special with characters like Alpha, like Mars, to ensure that he actually gets his special back, despite the fact that he does have a special CT down debuff when he launches his special, which obviously does kind of suck. But you can see, despite the fact that we are losing Nushjuro, which, you know, obviously reduces our damage by quite a fair bit, we are still holding our own because these characters all synergize relatively well together, and we are able to launch key specials at the right time to get the right debuffs. You see that we get Peter there, which can go ahead and potentially action bind a bunch of them, which allows the rest of our characters to go to the top of the order to perform their specials. So huge asset to have there with Peter as well. But overall, pretty comfortable win. Even though it was a little dicey, we pretty much got it at the end without too many issues. Moving on to our next Battle Rush boss is going to be against the Lilith one. I did actually do a couple test runs against the Alpha one with the full INT squad with Figureland, Garling on the front line, Yamato, Roger Rayleigh Gaban, and I could not beat it with my 5 Elder team. No matter how I organized my characters, I just kept getting absolutely stomped. And obviously the fact that they have a team that is very synergistic, characters that can haste, put them to the top of the order, Figureland Garling just does so much damage to us, I really couldn't showcase this team against it, which is such a shame. It wasn't really an effective team against it. It just didn't work. I also did a couple of other test runs, specifically against like the quote-unquote really good like shooter or strength-focused team with Mars on it, Uta, S-Snake, the Strength Luffy, Legend Kuma, like that whole strength squad that we kind of showcased like a couple of days ago when I pulled Mars. That team destroys this 5 Elder team. Like, as I said, if you're up against debuffing characters or characters that can charge their specials very quickly and that have high damage potential, this team just melts against those squads. So even though we have characters that can provide decent defensive capabilities and really good debuffs from Peter and Valkyrie, if those characters can't launch their specials or don't get a chance to launch their specials before the opponent can set up, you're just kind of done. So yeah, I just feel like there needs to be another character that can help you charge specials faster, or another character that can apply debuffs to the opponent that can give you the chance to start using specials. And characters like S-Snake, the new Rumble S-Snake, are going to be the best characters for that. Alright, let's jump into a regular fight now. So this is going to be against an opponent here which has a relatively good looking INT team. They've got some pretty key characters to look out for. Obviously S-Hawk on the front line. The waifus can be so stupid. Very, very problematic. One character I should actually point out to you guys, not on this team specifically, but in my testing, obviously we're only showing victories in this video, but a lot of my losses that I was doing against certain teams often it was mainly the confusion debuff that actually ruined my run, whether it be from S-Snakes or whether it be from the sword character, that INT, like, shooter striker character. Anytime my characters were inflicted with confusion, I would lose the game. For some reason, it would always hit Nushiro, and Nushiro getting confused. There was one test run I did where I lost, and I literally would have won, and I got timed out. I literally, like, made it to the end. I had a lot of characters still alive. The enemy only had 2 characters left, and the issue was Nushiro was confused twice and lost his special twice in the run. It was so brutal. There was even a time where he got confused, and then Mars died, at which put Nushiro to the top of the order, which then lost him his special. Just absolutely brutal stuff. Confusion is the bane of this team, because obviously the most important thing, if this team cannot launch its specials, you will lose the game. Confusion ruins this squad. And, like, you can say that about a lot of teams. If you can get confused on a lot of squads, you will lose. But, I mean, this is, like, vital for this team. If this team cannot launch specials, you will lose, right? And, you know, even though you do have, like, a lot of good tankiness going on, the tankiness derives from the War Curie special. If War Curie can't launch, if Peter cannot launch to debuff the opponents, they can just do whatever they want. They can set up on you, and it is done. Or if Nushiro can't launch his huge damage-dealing special, you are done. So those are the major pitfalls that I found with this team. But still, if you can get your specials launching, things go very, very well. Moving on to our next match here is going to be against a DEX team. Really wanted to test out to see what this team was capable of doing against DEX. DEX has typically been a team in the past where they are a relatively slow, tanky, defense-focused team. I feel like that has kind of pivoted a little bit over the past 12 months with how DEX has been performing, and they are definitely more of a offensive threat now, with characters such as, like, versus Kaido, Dex Ace, Kizaru, and then Garp providing some really interesting Navy synergies. And then obviously with the release of Jupiter, having access to some really strong debuffers and also providing even more tank. So I really wanted to test how the team was going to perform against that. And lo and behold, it actually does work quite well due to the fact that the DEX team, while it does have a lot of things going for it, it still isn't the fastest team out there. And once again, if we can start launching our specials before our opponent, things are going to go very, very well for us. So we can tank pretty much any of the opponent's damage dealing effects that they have here, but especially because they don't even have versus Kaido on their front line, so we're not really worried about major damage through defense kind of specials. And you can see Nushiro there just absolutely wave clearing the entire opponent's front line, which is just wild. This is going to be the final clip of the video, and this is going against a team that it's actually very similar to the Alpha Challenge difficulty boss in the single matches. So I saw this when I was going through just regular play, and I thought, you know, let's actually challenge this and see if we can actually get this done. And yeah, we could definitely beat this one, which was really nice. But as I mentioned, that the characters that provide confusion, specifically talking about that sword character with Grus, Hibari, and Kujaku, that character is disgusting. And I'm pretty sure my opponent doesn't have an optimal setup, because I do believe they need, like, a certain character to be on the team, like a Drake, a Garb, a Kobe, whatever it is, in order for them to get, like, the additional buffs in their Rumble ability or their special. And for them, they actually don't have that set up correctly. So I guess that's a little bit of a positive for this one. So not a super optimal team, but hey, you know, it is what it is. They still have a lot of things going for them. They have got a very solid front line. They've got Saturn, which can obviously be a problem with special bind. Luckily for us, we do avoid that. Nushiro coming in here doing some really good damage, which you love to see. But they do still have Roger Rayleigh Gaban, which can be extremely threatening. Best case scenario, if you can kill Roger Rayleigh Gaban relatively fast after War Curie can launch his special. If that ends up working out in your favor, then things are going to work, and you can pretty much just win the game. But anyways, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions about the 5 Elders, and if you guys have had the opportunity to go against it or have used it yourself, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions about this squad down below in the comment section. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, and that guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.